What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Forge for Greatness. This show is not just about the wins, it's about the struggles, the moments that actually forge us. I am your host, Chris LaForgia, and today I am joined by my good friend and co-worker, Randy Patrizio of HDE Event Group. He runs a DJ and AV company here in New Jersey. And Randy, welcome to the show, man.
Chris, thank you for having me on the show today. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. And we're going to dive into childhood, family struggles, business struggles, business challenges. But before we get into that, I was doing the math. We've been working together for now 8 years.
Yeah, it's
Crazy.
it's been a while, when we've worked together, I feel like I was always upbeat. So I definitely think you and the listeners are going to find out a little bit about, my story and a deep dive into everything.
Mm-hmm. So where did you grow up?
So when I grew up, I think of two different places. In my early childhood, I grew up in Nutley, New Jersey. And then in sixth grade, I moved to East Hanover, New Jersey. Graduated at Hammer Park in 2010. And then, yeah, those are the two places that I think about growing up.
What was the environment like in Nutley? Not only the family environment, but like the community, like was it a supportive community environment or
Yeah,
was
I
it
mean,
challenging?
it was a supportive community environment. I was heavily involved in sports. So I did a lot of that. Personally myself, I experienced a lot of bullying in Nutley. So it was kind of like a
You were doing the bullying or you were
no,
getting
no,
bullied?
I was the one getting bullied. I was
Okay.
a little bit chubbier back in the day, and I didn't really realize that I was getting bullied until I got older. But when I moved to East Hanover, things changed a little bit. But just to kind of describe the home environments in both homes, if I could come up with one word to describe it, I would say complicated.
Okay. Why?
Listen, on one hand, I always had
It's good, man. It's all right. So I brought these because I knew we were going to get into the heavy stuff, man. Take your time.
sorry.
It's all good. You don't have to apologize, dude. We're human, but yeah, we have emotions.
Um, on one hand, I always had a roof over my head, well fed, was able to play the sports I wanted. But when it came to behind the closed doors, it was a lot of um screaming, yelling, and sometimes being fearful as a kid.
And you got that from both parents, or was it just one parent? Like,
Yeah, it was both.
yeah.
I experienced a lot of this in the home behind closed doors. This continued um throughout my high school years, adult years. I've seen and heard things as a child and an adult um, that
No one wants to hear. What was the biggest thing that comes to mind in your childhood that kind of left an imprint on you in a bad way?
um, I would say I kind of want to relate this when I was a little bit older. I would definitely say um, the lack of support. Um, you know, when you're in school and people tell you all the time, they drill it into your head. It's go to school, go to college, get a job. Go to school, go to college, get a job. And I obviously followed that routine. College wasn't really for me, so I tried to take it in my own hands and be creative. And I felt like when I tried to pursue what I'm doing now, I felt like there was a lack of support, and I felt like I needed to prove something to them for them to be like, okay, this clicks for him.
To feel loved, almost like you felt like you had to prove
Just
something.
just supportive,
Yeah.
like I said, it was just a lack of support. And, when things started clicking,
Mhm.
it was like things clicked in their head. Oh, now we can support him. Now we can repost his events. They didn't take me seriously.
Yeah.
And that's something that, you
How
know,
did that feel though? Like, how did that feel when someone, I talked about it on my solo podcast about my parents and certain family members not believing in what I was doing. Like, how did that feel initially
um,
when someone close to you, someone that you love, doesn't believe in what you're doing?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I said, I didn't, my childhood, I guess you could say, made me a little numb. So when this came about, I was kind of numb to it. I didn't really, cry over it. I just pretty much out of anger, I was like, I'm gonna prove them wrong.
Hmm. No, I love it. Switching gears now, what was an early childhood success story that you can tell right now to the audience?
Um, I guess if we're gonna go back to maybe my first taste of success, like I explained before, um, when I was a child, sports and school is all I knew. I was involved in a lot of sports. Um, at a young age, my main sport was baseball.
Mhm.
And at the end of the season, it was always a goal to make the all-star team. You got to wear these cool uniforms that imitated the same uniforms New York Yankees wore. So when I made my first all-star team, I guess you could say that was my first taste of success. Getting a little bit older, high school, I would definitely say my first taste of success there was definitely making the ice hockey team for Hanover Park, and then eventually becoming a captain my senior year.
Speaking on the hockey team, we've actually done some events for the coach, right? Your
Yes, Coach
ex-coach.
Levis.
Talk about him because I know he was probably um, a role model for you at an early age, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, he was a coach where, if you put in the work, you're going to get the playing time. And that's what he instilled in his players. I can't speak for every other player, but when I was playing for him, whether it was practice or games, um, I took what he taught on the ice and I actually applied to everyday life.
Mhm.
If you're going to do sprints, you're going to eventually become faster. So, if you're going to put in the time and the work into your business, you're going to eventually get those rewards for that. He's definitely been an inspiration, and a lot of the things he says and taught me, I use to this day.
And apply to your business.
Yeah.
By the way, this picture behind me, do you know what this is from?
The USA when they won back in the day with Herb
That's for sure.
Brooks.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So, switching gears again now, we're going to transition into your business in a little bit. But looking back on your childhood one more time, would you say the failures or the wins shaped you more into the person that you are today?
From a business standpoint, or
Just general, like the wins or the losses, what shaped you more early
um,
on? I'm not
er,
talking about business. I'm not talking about what you're doing today, but like early in your childhood, like the wins or the losses, what shaped you more?
I would say early in my childhood, I would say both, but I know we're going to touch upon this later, but I would say the failures, just because I feel like the failures teach you the lessons you need to either not repeat something or do something better.
Mhm.
And I firmly believe that you learn from those failures and they actually turn into wins.
I love that. And last question, I promise, before we transition to business. Because you didn't have the support from your family members that you really craved as a child, who stepped in and kind of filled that void for you? Was it the coach for the hockey team? Was it other people, other family members, friends?
Yeah, I would say definitely my coach. I can't really think of anything else. But it's weird because when I was younger, I had the support for the sports stuff. You know, um, I felt like it was a little aggressive at times with, me getting hurt and still having to play. And I understand, everyone wants their kid to get up and have that strength and courage.
Yeah.
But with sports, I did have the support, but it was the out of college, what am I going to do with my life was when I felt a lack of support.
Got it. Okay. So you didn't really go to college, right?
I went to CCM for a year.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't have an interest in it. I wasn't going to class.
Wasn't for you.
It ultimately wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm. So you started your business 2015.
I started in 2015. Prior to that, I was working some random jobs, warehouse jobs, and when I opened the business, things were light. You don't have the work. Maybe I had 5 to 10 events on a calendar year, so I was actually working a couple jobs, and the money that I would make from these side jobs, I would use it to invest into the business
Mm-hmm.
up until the point where I was at a certain level where it's like, okay, I can not work at a warehouse and do this, and I can dedicate my full time to the production company.
How old were you when you started?
The production company?
Yeah.
Oof. I don't know when 2015 was, but I don't know how old I was there, but I would say, I don't know, like 22 maybe,
Okay.
22, 23.
So young.
Yes, very young.
Trying to limit my ums. I'm working on that. It's a work. It's a learning process. But talk to me about the first couple years of business. What were the challenges? What were the mistakes that you made? And what were the first wins that you added to your belt?
When I first opened the business, it was rough. Like I said, it was you had to find a way to get work. In this business, your reputation, your reviews, your content is everything, as well as networking. At the time, I didn't really know many people in the industry. I was new to the equipment and everything. I didn't really know the ins and outs. So it definitely took me some time to, gather those events. There was a struggle with, specifically weddings. People would call. I'm a young guy. I don't really have much reputation in the game. And the reputation I did have was a 50th birthday, a kid's backyard party.
Mm-hmm.
And, with weddings, like they want to see that you've done these style of events, or they want to see the raving reviews of how the couple had a great time.
Yeah.
So one of my struggles was actually trying to land my first wedding. It took me a lot of time. But I feel like, once I hit my first wedding, it kind of took off very slowly from there, climbing up that ladder. I would say, in business, you always have your little wins, right? And sometimes it's hard to pinpoint what's your first real one. But if I could pick out one of my first real wins, I would definitely go back to the first time that I won the award for Best of Weddings Through the Knot and Wedding Wire. I've always wanted to win this award. I was hungry to win this award, and the award basically puts you in the top percentage of wedding DJs, not only in the state, but in the nation as well. So when I did win that award for the first time, I felt proud of myself, which I normally don't. I'm very hard on myself as a business owner. So for me, yeah. So for me to take a second to step back and be like, wow, this is really cool that I get to show off, my brand's hard work. That's why I would pin that as a first real win early on.
Okay. What were some of the little mistakes that you made? I mean, you mentioned a couple of them, right?
Yeah. I mean, like little mistakes could just be, not EQing a microphone properly for an event. But if I could pull out a bigger mistake early on, I would definitely say not putting myself out there as much, being a little timid when it comes to being like, hey, let's network with this person, let's network with that person. Through the years, I've learned that networking in this industry is everything. Whether that's with other vendors, whether that's with potential clients, just talking and speaking. And I believe that's definitely something that that I lacked. Even at an early age when I was a kid, I was known as a shy kid.
Yeah.
So I feel like it took me a while to get out of my shell. But I think that was a big mistake back in the day, was the networking part.
Prior to launching the business, how long were you DJing before that?
I actually started DJing. I graduated in 2010. I started in 2011. How I got into it was my uncle had this DJ equipment at his warehouse. I said, "Hey, Uncle Mike, like, can I have this?"
Yeah.
He turns around at me. He goes, "Listen to me." He's like, "If you're going to take it to mess around, don't touch it. But if you're going to take it to make money, you can have it." So I took it. I started practicing.
Like that. Yeah.
I originally started doing like college frat parties. It was a mess. But I was trying to figure out a way to get into the game, whether that was through college frat parties or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's
No, I love that. That's an awesome story. So, biggest mistake. It doesn't even have to be early on in business. It could be over the past 11 years.
yeah, give or take. Yeah.
What's been the biggest mistake that you've come across, or biggest challenge that's kind of interfered with your business?
So when I talk about my biggest mistake, a lot of business owners that you'll probably have on here just in general will probably say something business related, right? But I'm gonna give you a curveball. So my biggest mistake was probably letting myself get into a very deep, dark depression that contemplated
Take your time.
me taking my own life. Um, for the record, I just want to say that I've never took action upon these thoughts, but I've had a period where the thoughts were in my head and it was very scary. Um, this was this was due to a major family situation that this was due to a major family situation that that landed my father incarcerated. Um, you know, with that being said, there was a line in the sand where I stood right and my family stood left. Um, and everyone usually leans on their loved ones for support. And for me, it was like I was standing in a dark depression alone without him. It was a disagreement that I could not side with. Um,
Whatever you're comfortable like talking about, again, this is totally up to you and whatever you feel comfortable telling the audience. But what led to that dark depression? Like, what, again, you don't have to say specific details, but if you want to just like touch on, you know.
yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation when something like this happens. I'm gonna keep the details, privately because it is a major family situation. But you know, the I went into a dark, deep depression because this was prolonged for a year and a half. I would say my couch was the outlet and the motivation to run my business absolutely dropped to the floor. Um, during all of this, I still I still attended events, but I realized that I wasn't the same. I would put on a fake face or, acting upbeat at weddings, on show site for corporate private events, but I knew something with me was different. I wasn't answering phone calls, emails, or even having the motivation to get up and to go to the computer. My wife would even say, you know, people are trying to get in touch with you. You have events, people are inquiring, and it's scary. I didn't have the motivation or care.
What's made you get through this though? What's powered you through these dark times? What have you leaned on to kind of carry you through and get you motivated again?
I mean, it took me a while. It took me a long time because, during this, there was a lot of things that went into this whole family issue. You know, the trying to run a business, but at the same time, preparing yourself mentally to walk into a courtroom, to see the person you once called dad in a jumpsuit and shackles, and then to go through all of that, to have your family sitting on the other side against you, and then to go home and to try and run a business. I don't think people understand how difficult it was for me. And I felt absolutely broken, destroyed, and stripped of my motivation. And, just to add to this, on top of all of this, because, you know, contemplating your own life is something serious. And you would think, okay, that's one thing right there. But while this was all going on, in addition to this, my wife has not been healthy for the past 6 or 7 years. And even today, we're still trying to get her a new lung. And during this dark period, her health was the worst it's ever been. The ambulance was always at the house. And, not all business owners, but most business owners wake up every day and say, here we go, here's another day. For me, it's completely different. I have to wake up every day in hope that my wife is breathing. So, with those two situations, and on top of it, trying to act like a normal dad in front of my children was just, it was all becoming too much. And, the dark thoughts that would enter my mind, would obviously happen alone, not in front of the team or the crew or anything. And, I'll give an example of being specific. Driving home from an event 1 a.m. in the truck to the warehouse, and that's when the thoughts would come. It would be, I'm driving on the highway, and it's, if I was to turn this wheel left, the truck would flip, and that'd be the end of it. And it was the thoughts of, how could I make this as painless as possible? Because I couldn't take it anymore. And what really scared me the most was these dark thoughts overpowered the thought of me leaving my children and my family behind. And that's what scared me the most. But I do think that your mental health or your personal life can have a major impact on your business. And you have to make that decision whether your business is going to make it through your own personal storm. And I feel like my story is a prime example or a reflection that mental health is important, even though it's something you may not think about with business.
100%.
You're always thinking about the numbers, how much money's coming in, or making sure my team's out there. But mental health is just important because it can be affected. But all things said and done, I'm here now, and I forged my way through the fire.
Speaking on that, right? What has all this taught you? What have you learned from all of this?
This past year and a half has taught me a lot, so many things. But the one thing that I think it has taught me the most is that I am stronger than I thought. That now I feel like anything that comes my way, whether it's business related or an event I need to tackle, I can easily get through it.
Mhm. What's the saying? God doesn't give you anything that you can't handle, right?
Yeah.
What's been the biggest success, business related, biggest achievement, biggest win in the past 11 years?
I would I would definitely have to say my biggest success I would say so far is tapping into the corporate world. I've had a big goal about 6 years ago about providing audio visual solutions and productions for corporate clients. At the time, it was something that seemed very far fetched. Fortunately, we were able to connect with corporate clients and provide those services, and that has excelled us now into providing high level productions for corporate clients. So I would say opening a corporate division has been a dream of mine. So I would just say that is definitely a big success in my book.
And you have some big clients, right? You have the Jets.
Yeah, we work with the New York Jets, Atlantic Health System, some hospitals. We also have some other things in the works. We're currently in the process of working with NFL agents, some other medical conferences. So we're
Rams,
really
right? Rams.
no, definitely not. um, I mean, hey,
Giants.
if I can get with the Giants, doing some productions,
New York Giants fan. Randy.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that'd be great. But along with the productions, the equipment has definitely gotten to a high level as well. We purchased large video wall screens a couple years ago. High-end corporate microphones, like a lot of stuff. So I'm excited about how the corporate has gone and how far we can take it.
So we'll save that for the end because I like to ask every guest what's next.
Sure.
Um, Transitioning now into a forging moment or an aha moment. What was your aha moment in business?
This might seem a little cheesy, but my aha moment, I would say, was when you know my wife sat me down for the first time and she really supported you know everything about the business. And like I said, I'm very hard on myself, and I feel like from the lack of support, it's hard for me to have a aha moment. But hearing it from her saying that she supports everything, um, you know, it made me like really push to want to become bigger and do what I dreamt of. So, like I said, I know it may sound a little cheesy, but
That's not cheesy
you
at
know,
all. I mean, she's your right hand woman. She's your Adrian. Adrian! Was there ever a point where you felt like quitting?
oh yeah, absolutely. There was a bunch of times. One would definitely being during COVID. COVID was a difficult time for everyone in this country.
Yeah.
That was a time that I actually thought about switching career paths or trying to build a new business. That's how uncertain and doubtful I was. You have your little doubts here and there. Sometimes things don't go the way you want them to go, or maybe you don't land the job that you thought you would 100% get, and there's that little voice in the back of your head where it's like, should I still be doing this? Should I change career paths? But I never let that overtake, the goal that I have in mind. But, sometimes you have those doubts, but, my motto is you can't quit. You should never quit.
Well, that was later in business, but they say most people quit on their ideas or their businesses early on, right? The first couple years, maybe not even, they don't even reach the first couple years.
Right.
When you experienced that initial doubt and lack of support from your family when you first started the business, that they didn't believe in you, was there ever a point then where you felt like throwing in the towel and going and doing something else?
Honestly, absolutely not. It actually pushed me to want to not quit. I mean, it was not only the lack of support from the family. I had messages in my DMs, "You're a shitty DJ. What are you doing with yourself?" I've had emails of people telling me I'll never make it in the industry. I've had a lot of that. And
Hate mail.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, even the first couple years, you know, you have a couple kids who weren't, or people who weren't happy with the music, they're DMing you and they're, you know, you have some haters and stuff, but you're always going to have haters, right? But no, with that type of stuff, I've never have wanted
They
to
were
throw in the towel.
motivating forces, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah,
Yeah.
they still are till this day. I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
I am nowhere near done yet, and there's a level that I've been wanting to reach that I know I'm definitely not there yet, but I will get there.
Let's equate this to a video game, right? Back in the Nintendo days, right? You have to get to level, whatever the highest level is. Let's say level 30.
Mhm.
What level are you at right now in your business and in life in general?
I would say because I'm hard on myself as a business owner. What was that number?
Let's just say level 30 is like
30.
the highest level you can
Um,
reach.
level 10, level 15.
So kind of in the
Maybe
middle.
maybe just maybe just getting in the middle right now.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, like I said, I have a dream that's so far-fetched where I know it's going to take some time.
Mhm.
But we'll get there.
So you've listened to Andy, right? Before?
Yeah.
Frizella. First 10 years in business, he only made what, $50,000 total?
Yeah.
And then 11th year, he just became a multimillionaire. And it just goes to show you just got to like keep pushing through
Yeah, I
the
mean,
dark times.
first 4 years, I didn't make much. All the money was invested into the business. It's funny because like people around my age, or I guess you could say of some of my friends, my money was being dumped back into the business buying equipment. What were they doing?
Yeah.
Going out buying materialistic items, going out to the club. There came a point where I did do all that stuff. And I had to say to myself, if I want my business to grow, I need to stop going out and I need to invest all of my money into my business. And that's what I did. My friends be like, "You want to go out?" I'm like, "Nope, nope, nope." I stopped going on vacations probably for like 5 straight years. I kept dumping the money into the business,
Yeah.
dumping the money in the business. My salary was little to none because I just kept building the business, whether it was equipment or spending it on like
Yeah.
staffing or marketing or stuff like that.
I love that. I was actually having a conversation with Amanda last night. She watches the show Summer House.
Okay.
Deanna, you watch that shit?
I do.
Oh God. I can't fucking deal with it. One of the guys on the show, he's a DJ.
Kyle.
Yes. And he goes to the clubs, like he stays at the clubs after he's done with his set.
Right.
And he drinks and he gets home at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Myself and you, we're nothing like that. Like we work a wedding, we pack up, well you pack up, and we go home. Like we don't stay for like the extracurricular activities, you know?
You want to know what's funny though? Sometimes I do a wedding, get home at 1 a.m. and I'm on the computer
Yeah.
working. Like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I am like a crazy work dog. I'll work all day and be like, nah, like I got to get this done or this video's got to be done. Next thing I know it, the sun's rising up at 5 in the morning. It's just like when you're so focused on your business, like it doesn't seem like you're putting in hours,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then like you don't realize like, wow, like I've been sitting
All
here
the
for
time
8
that you,
hours.
put in.
Yeah.
This might be for another podcast, but like just in general, the life of an entrepreneur, like everyone makes it out to be like, oh, you make your own schedule, you're your own boss, you don't have to answer to anyone, but it's really not that at all. Like you're working 70-hour weeks, you lose track of time, you lose track of time that you should be spending with your family. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not as glamorous as people paint it to be.
No, I mean, you know, I'm answering emails on vacation.
Yeah.
You know,
You have to
unfortunately,
answer to clients. Like people say,
yeah,
like, oh, you don't have to answer anybody. Well, you have to answer to all your clients.
yeah, you
You
can't
know.
just ignore it. Whether you have a team in the office or not, you have to be involved in all times. So you know, you're sometimes working on holidays. You know, I know every business is different, but in my industry or our industry,
Yeah.
you know, people like to book holidays. So you're working holidays, you're working nights, you know. It's my daughter's first day at school, but unfortunately I need to be at this location. So, you know, it sucks that like your family, fuck, how am I supposed to say this?
I know what you're
Um,
trying to say. It's hard to find that balance, and it's hard to keep everyone happy.
yeah.
You know, because you're always moving, and the ideas are always, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, everything's always flowing. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you know, doing the work is one thing, or getting the work, doing events is one thing, but
Getting the work is
getting
a
the work,
whole nother aspect.
yeah, you know, brainstorming, coming up with new designs, new techniques.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, how are you supposed to stay trendy, unique, beat your competitors? So, you know, there's a lot that I feel like goes into a business where, like you said, like people think it's very easy to run a business. You know, it's number one, getting the work. Number one, you know,
Number two.
all right. Number one, it's trying to get the work. Number two, it's doing the work. Then, you
Number
know,
three, I would say, is like executing the work at a high standard.
at a high standard, the
Yeah.
preparation, you know, taking care of your overhead or your bills, you know, production staffing, that's a whole nother aspect to it. You know, there's so many things. There's so many things that go into it.
Last question before we get into the Forge 5, I promise. How do you define success today compared to how you defined it early on in your childhood?
That's actually a good question.
Thank you.
Hold on. Fuck you. Success earlier in my life, I feel, was more about being able to get the materialistic things, right? Buying the shoes, the watches, the cars, being able to go to the nightclub and spend hundreds of dollars, you know, buying people drinks. But I learned very early on that that is not what success looks like. To me, success is about time. And at 34 years of age, as a business owner and just as a human being, I have been through a lot, probably more than what a standard or normal 34-year-old man goes through. Um, you know, so with that being said, with my wife's health and going through everything, it has really made me realize that time is precious. And, you know, as a business owner, you can have a flexible schedule, but to be able to get a flexible schedule, you need to get to that certain level, which I'm grateful for. I'm grateful to have that flexible schedule because early on in business, you're working, 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 working. There's no days off. So for me, that's a little bit of success to have that flexible schedule, to be able to spend time with my kids and being able to take them to destinations or locations, seeing them laugh and run around and have a good time and trying to give them the best life that I can give them. And that is success to me.
Love it. I'm trying to get better at
You
spending
suck.
time with my son.
Oh, we need to cut that out.
No, but for real, like I'm trying to get better at clocking out at a certain time every day to spend time with my son. And it's like anything else, it's a learning process. It's like,
It's important because you know, back in the day I was open Monday through Sunday. And like I was just mentioning about being able to have that flexible schedule, I eventually closed down on Sundays now, whether that's spending time with my family or going to Giants games. Uh, but no, I need that time for myself or my family,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I really,
You need to hit the reset button once in a while.
yeah. And listen, like, we operate from 9 a.m. to about 6 or 7 p.m. If a client does reach out at 10 p.m., like, I'm sorry to my clients, but unfortunately, like, I just like everyone has dinner with their family, needs family time. Like, I'm human too. I have a family. So I try and create those boundaries because, like I said, time is precious.
Success is time for you now,
Yes.
and having that flexibility with family, friends. Love it. Let's get to the Forge 5. 5 questions that I ask every guest. Doesn't have to be rapid fire. You could expand upon your answers if you want to. First question. What is a habit that you attribute most of your growth to?
Um, Never giving up. Never giving up, no matter how many times you hit the ground. I've always gotten up. Whether that was playing ice hockey, getting checked to the boards and hurt, still got back up. Whether that was family situations, getting knocked to the ground, getting back up. Whether an event was not 100% successful, made me feel a little down, you got to get back up. So I think that's a great habit that I have is no matter what comes my way, I'm going to get back up. So you can do anything you want to me, but I feel unbeaten.
I can't help but reference the Rocky photo right here, but how many times do you think you've gotten knocked down? If you had to count over the course of your life, how many times do you think you've gotten knocked down?
And I'm being serious,
Mhm.
probably over 50.
Let's just call it 50. But you've gotten up 51 times.
Yeah.
And that's the most important piece right there.
Some of these scenarios, I've been beaten to shit.
Yeah.
I've been beaten to the shit to the point where I didn't want to be here.
What is a failure that you're most grateful for?
That I never pulled the trigger. That I never pulled the trigger on the deep thoughts that I'm actually motivated more than I have ever been, and that ultimately I'm still here on this earth.
Love it. What is one truth you wish you would have learned sooner?
True colors come out eventually. And unfortunately, it's the people closest to you that disappoint you the most.
Amen. What keeps you grounded when things get chaotic, stressful, overwhelming?
I would just have to say, my kids, I feel like, and I'm sure you can be a witness to this. Sometimes when you come home and you've had a bad day, they're running down the hallway screaming daddy or whatever in their little voice, and sometimes it just kind of just relieves the stress, so they keep me grounded with everything.
Love it. Last question. You ready for it? Checking your cheat sheet right there. What does Forged for Greatness mean to you?
Forge for greatness means that the hard times don't break you. It means strength, courage, resilience, and that you are meant for something powerful.
You think that up all by yourself? You chat GBT'd that shit. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, this concludes our episode, but before the formal conclusion, where can people find you? What's your Instagram? People
So
see the work that you're doing. with
yeah,
each
yeah,
other.
absolutely. So I have Instagram. I have 2 Instagram handles. One's for corporate, one's more for private. Private events is at HDE Event Group, and then our corporate division is at HDE period solutions. You could also find us online at hdentevents.com or hdsolutions.co. Even if you just research the names on Google, I mean, you can find content, videos, reviews, everything's online for you.
Love it. What's next for you on both a personal level and a business level?
On a business level, I think our next goal is just getting to that next level of clientele for corporate clients. I want to be a full-blown, corporate division where, we have like 4 or 5 teams out, servicing all these corporate clients, doing bigger productions. That's something that we're looking forward to, is really enhancing and coming up with creative ideas for bigger productions.
And on a personal level?
On a personal level, I would just say just keep going with the strength that I've built up from the failures and mistakes and the things that I went through. I'm looking forward to keeping that strength, hopefully being able to spend, more time with my kids.
This might also, thinking out loud here, this might also transition into you, speaking to people that have gone through something similar, or,
Well, you know what's funny is, like, when you asked me to come on here, I'm appreciative of the opportunity because number one, I feel like people are nervous to speak out about this. I was the same way. I was very closed. But the things that I went through, if I can be an inspiration or if I can help someone get through something, whether the situation is similar, just the fact of it being an issue with the mental health. You can DM me, send me an email, call me, because I've been trying to find different outlets of how I could give back to people and help them. Because what I went through, I was very closed off and I should have asked for help. But what I went through was very closed off. I was alone and I could have not made it out on the other side. Like I said, the thoughts were there. The actions were never taken. But if it got to that point, there was no one there to help me because I didn't ask for the help. So, like I said, if someone's listening and they can relate, whether it's on a small or big scale, I would be open to, helping them. I eventually want to give back and help people with what I went through.
Love it. Randy, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure thousands of people, if not millions, hopefully we can reach millions of people with this, are going to get inspiration from you. They're going to see your story of resilience. I think that's been the main theme of this particular episode, is you are probably the most resilient person I know that I've ever come across in my life. And maybe you can speak on that a little bit, just resilience, and give the people your final thoughts.
I just think that, everyone has something going on, whether it's a small or big situation. I just think it doesn't even have to be about business. You got to do it for yourself at all times. You always have to fight for yourself. And I feel like that's what I really learned coming from a business standpoint. You have to fight for your business at all times. And you don't ever want to let anyone or anything ever jeopardize your business goals, because that's what happened to me and it cut me off and I ended up trending in a downward spiral. But I got through it eventually. Like I said, it was a 1.5 year time frame that I've been dealing with this. So it took me a little bit, but I got out and I feel like I'm trending back in the upward direction better than I actually was before all this came into play. And kind of piggybacking or going back to your intro about how, we work together on certain things. Did you think when we work together that I personally have been through all this craziness.
When we first started working together, or just in general?
Just recently, I guess.
No,
Like, would you have known that I've went through all this?
you hit it pretty well.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't show what happens to me to anyone.
Yeah.
Um,
You are a perfectionist. Like, there are moments on the
Yeah.
job where, like, you're overthinking something, and you ask me all the time, like, was that good? Was this good? Like, but that's part of your nature.
yeah, I try to be perfect with everything, and I feel like that kind of stems from maybe the lack of support of the people who believed in me.
Yeah, 100%.
So you have that, and then I have myself putting my company as a high standard. I want to provide the utmost highest quality production that you can get. So I think those two things combined make me hard on myself as a business owner or make me a perfectionist.
But it helps you forge ahead at the same time.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
It
I
was an
appreciate
awesome
it.
story. People are going to learn from it. People are going to be inspired by it. Again, this is a very powerful theme of resilience. And you are the most resilient person I know after going through what you've gone through.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode with Randy Patrizio of HD Event Group. Make sure to check him out on Instagram. Once again, greatness isn't given, it is forged. If this episode hits home with you, share it with a loved one. Drop us a comment on the YouTube. Send us a DM on Instagram. And subscribe to the channel. Thanks, guys.